This 25th Planning and Zoning meeting to order. And Heidi, could you please verify a quorum?
AJ Mosqueda,
Present.
Ron Rice, Jim Allen,
Present.
Tim Bowers, Danny Bryant,
Here.
Matias Rosales,
Present.
Aaron Salee,
Present.
Hugo Garcia,
Present.
Bobby McDermott, Ron Van Wy.
I'm here. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, you do have a quorum.
Thank you. Could you all please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. If you have not signed the paperwork in the back, please do so. We appreciate you signing, and we have to have that for the record. If you wish to speak tonight, as we said, please sign in. You have 3 minutes to talk. If you need more time, we'll consider it on a case-by-case basis. When you come to the podium, please state your name and address for the record, and please address me as the chairman. Do not speak to the audience or to staff. Yeah, if you have handouts to give to the commission, please give it to the admin, and they will give it to us if required. The restrooms and drinking fountains are just down outside the door here to your left, to your right. If you need to use those, please feel as needed. There's no food or beverages allowed inside the auditorium except for water. The first item of business tonight is the approval of the regular meeting minutes of July 28, 2026.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we accept the minutes as they stand.
Okay, I have a motion.
Second.
Motion by AJ Mosqueda and a second by Jim Allen. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion passes. Next item on the agenda is rezoning case number 26-04, JP Mann, agent for BEH Farms. Staff, please report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Jesus Carrillo, Senior Planner, presenting rezoning case 2604. The parcel, it's a 26 gross acres in size, and it's being requested to rezone from RA40 to RA5. The property is located in the Yuma Valley in Walton, Mohawk, located on the east side of Avenue 38E, on the north side of the Mohawk Canal in Walton. And the intent is to split the property into 5 parcels. This is the zoning map. The property is in the crosshatch, parcel number 9. And this is the aerial imagery of the subject property outlined in blue. And this does happen that was submitted by the applicant. The intent, the applicant is proposing a access easement on the north side of the property. We did receive comments from Walton Mohawk Irrigation and Drainage District. Staff recommend approval of rezoning case number 2604 with the following performance conditions. And for schedule for development 1 through 3. And that concludes staff presentation. Any question for staff?
Any commissioners have questions, staff? Seeing none, I'll open up to the applicant if they'd like to come forward and speak.
Good evening, Chairman Van Wy and members of the commission. My name is JP Mann. I live at 3453 West 39th Street here in Yuma. I just wanted to thank staff. They've been great to work with throughout the process. We've been working with the water district out there on some power, and they're aware of this, and work with them through, throughout the comments they had. Sure. But I wanted to address some of the schedule for development, and there's already a kind of a gravel road out there that was put in by the farmer. These guys build and maintain hundreds, at least, miles of roads, annually, and for their work. This stuff is going to continue to be a farm and farming. So there's no issue with in putting in the gravel road and maintaining the gravel road. But I'd like to see if we could do it without requiring an engineer to draw what has already been there and then to certify it. If there's a way to do that with a contractor or something, but that road being way out there, as soon as tractors start coming in for planting and regular agriculture use, the farmers are the one who are going to maintain it. They're going to maintain the access. They're going to make sure that that it continues. This is never going to be part of county maintenance. It's never going to be county maintained. It's always going to be private. And a farm road, just like farm roads that we see whenever the majority of the roads, if you look at an aerial map of Yuma. But otherwise, I'm here for any questions.
What number was that, JP?
I'm sorry,
What number were you questioning?
So we're gonna work on the work on the land division. Within land division, it's to build a gravel road to county standard. It's like under excavating and putting some gravel and compacting it to like 99%. What ends up happening is an engineer draws it, get an encroachment permit, and the county reviews it and says yes, this is good. And then you have to have the engineer go back out and certify in doing that. The time and money it takes to do that are both a challenge to move forward with the development. They're just going to be farms. These conditions are very standard, I think, and I understand the county has a standard for it, but standard for like a residential area where they're going to be 2-acre lots where they might be rezoned into SR2, where you might see Teslas driving into these ranchettes or pickups, but this is still going to continue to be farms. The parcel size may be smaller, but it's still going to be that RA5 use, and a lot of it, is in the near future, it's intended to farm Hesperaloe, and it's one of the plants that Kimberly-Clark plant is going to utilize for their products.
Aaron?
Mr. Chairman, for the applicant, can we go back 2 slides, please, to the overview of the parcels? That, one more, please. Yes. So if you look to the east side of this, the access easement looks like it's on the east side and the south side. So we can alleviate the PM10 as well as the animal worries. Is there any interest by the applicant of changing access from the north end between parcels 9 and 10, if we can continue that easement side on the east and south of the parcel, then we could probably alleviate the concerns of animals on the 5-acre parcels and have access south and east.
There's been improvement made on the north side of the property for access and over like to the east and back out to County 8th Street, which is just the normal route and for farming that they've been using. Welton Mohawk really doesn't want access from the south. We don't technically have any access from the south right now. I guess there is physical access from the south, but Welton Mohawk doesn't want any travel or access on the north side of their canal to access the property. So in the land division permit, we'd work out dedicating some of what has been improved on the north side, and we'll attain the requirements for PM10. The road, there's already a road that my a toddler could ride a bicycle on that is pretty well compacted out there. But that piece on the bottom was cut off, and there's a jog in that parcel because that's actually where the apparatus is for Welton Mohawk. The applicant and the applicant is a large farmer here, and they own and operate some of the farms adjacent and through through some different partnerships. But the reason for that jog and the way that was cut is because there's actually a pump there, and the pump comes out of the canal from Welton Mohawk and pumps water 1,000 feet north.
So that, go back to that other slide, please. So those parcels are gonna back up all the way to the canal?
The south property line is actually the property line of the canal.
Okay, so there's no road behind the,
There's no road behind it. We assumed to alleviate some of Welton Mohawk's concerns that we do like a 1-foot non-access easement or something along there, just so it's understood. But I mean, there physically is a road back there. It's just not one that we're gonna use for access or,
okay, and it's not, it's not a road it's not an actual road though, right? It's not an actual road that the county maintains?
No, it's not a county maintained road.
Okay, all right, Bobby?
Sorry, new stuff. If you would go back to the previous slide that shows the development that has the irrigation access. Yeah, okay, what is that? These are 5 independent parcels, right?
correct.
And you're just the developer, you don't own the land?
I'm just an agent for the owner.
Okay, so that indicates to me that there's going to be a ditch in there and there's going to be water provided to the parcels and whatever, which will all have to be wells because there is no irrigation water available from the district. So is that going to be, that'll be inside whatever road you build on the north side?
Chairman Van Wy, Commissioner McDermott, that's correct. The access easement includes the word irrigation. If there's some discussion, and I'm not, farming is changing, especially out in eastern Yuma County, and the water rights in eastern Yuma County may be some of the ones that are challenged. So, these folks are, multi-generational farms. They farm thousands of acres a year. They're kind of pivoting. So there is possibly some intent to have private irrigation through that easement, or just whatever the typical utilities that would be. That if there was a well that perhaps some common well pipe moved from lot A to lot B or something within there, but it would not be from Welton Mohawk. It would be.
I understand that, sir, but out in that particular, I spent 50 years working in this county in ag, so, and 15 of them in Welton Mohawk. So the water, potable water is not found in the wells. So, and a lot of the water, groundwater, is not usable for agriculture either. Has there been any water investigations, test wells dug, quality and quantity of water that's available? This is kind of an illogical development to me. 5 acres is an awfully big piece of ground. And as we've seen out on the Yuma Mesa, a lot of times it just turns into a junkyard. But I don't think I have enough knowledge about the basic resources that are available here to make a decision as to whether this would be appropriate for development.
You have a question there, Bobby?
Chairman Van Wy.
Have a question? Do you have a question?
So I'm asking, has there been any investigation of available water quantity and quality?
The farmer and property owner has been farming in this community for over 100 years, and they farm thousands of acres a year. So I don't question their business plan. I'm not sure what exactly the farming operation will entail. I understand your concern, but they've been tending to this community for 100 years.
Well, I understand they may be farming for 100 years out there, but this parcel says it does not have a water by with Welton Mohawk, so he couldn't be using Welton Mohawk water on it.
Correct.
So where does the water come from if he's been farming it?
They have not been farming this parcel. They farm adjacent parcels, and they've been farming throughout the valley. And the business plan here does not require water from Welton Mohawk.
Yeah, I'm done, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. So, Mr. Mann, as far as the water is concerned, they're farming stuff around it. Where is that water coming?
So there's sorry, I'm pointing, to the northeast of this property. The water that's used to farm that comes from that easement that was cut off right there. So you can kind of see it's very hard to see, but there's a wall around a pump and some structure out there.
Oh, okay, okay.
That is fed from Welton Mohawk to farm and use on the adjacent acreage. So it goes in a big pipe, a couple hundred feet and a couple hundred feet from there.
All right, thank you. Any other commissioners? All right, you can have a seat, please, and if we
Thank
do,
you.
we'll call you back. Thank you. Anybody else in the audience have any discussion for or against this rezoning case? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the commissioners for discussion and action.
Question for staff in regards to his concern about the road and the development requirement. Is that something that is workable that they're asking for? Or, because I know down below Tangerine and all those orange, they're old school roads. What is the concept to that?
Well, Mr. Chairman, that's our recommendation to provide an ABC gravel road. We're not asking for chip seal, we're just asking for gravel. But it's gonna be up to the commissioners whether they're approve our recommendation or not, or make a modification.
And
They
I guess,
still-
and I
they
guess,
still- They still have to comply with the fire code
right,
for all weather access.
okay. So, and that means that in the future, when there's dust storms and that gravel gets full of dirt or whatever the farming equipment do, they're the ones responsible in maintaining it, keeping it active.
That's
for
correct.
access. Okay, all right.
Any other commissioners have any questions?
Questions for staff? So, talking about the water, so, in most areas, people that live on the counties, they have acreage, they normally have a well. They can install a well on each of these properties?
The well approvals will go through AWR, since the properties are 5 acres or more. So that's gonna be up to AWR whether to approve wells or not.
The
But that's during the permit review process.
The mechanism is there, it's up to them if they decide to apply for it.
Okay.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion. if
Mr.
anybody-
Chairman?
Yeah.
Yes. Good discussion, but this property scored 300 out of 300 as being an appropriate thing to do. So I recommend that I move that we recommend approval to the Board of Supervisors.
I second
Mr.
that.
Chairman, I'll second that.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the motion.
The
Move to
motion was
approve it.
recommend approval.
There's been a motion to approve it. There's been a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay.
No.
Recommendation passes. Next item on the agenda is to request to initiate a minor amendment to the Yuma County 2030 Comprehensive Plan to address aggregate sources. Staff, please, report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Javier Barraza, Senior Planner. This is a request to initiate a minor amendment to the Yuma County 2030 Comprehensive Plan to address aggregate sources. On July 22nd, 2026, the Board of Supervisors referred the aggregate sources discussion item back to the Planning Commission to initiate a text amendment to the 2030 CP and obtain additional information from mining and aggregate operators. The intent is to, would you like, Mr. Chairman, the entire presentation? It's just a request to initiate the amendment, but.
Anybody need that? No, we're good.
No, we can go to the actual request. And staff recommends to initiate a minor amendment to the 2030 Comprehensive Plan to address aggregate sources in the land use element add a new map depicting the location of active aggregate mines and areas suitable for aggregate resources, add a definition in the plan's glossary, and incorporate the respective layer into the Yuma County Geographic Information System. Mr. Chairman, that concludes my presentation.
Thank you, sir. Any commissioners have any questions?
Just, if I can, yes, a question of what happens at this point if we initiate a minor amendment, what's the process to go through, how much public comment gets heard?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Bryan, the direction that we received from the Board of Supervisors to reach out to the operators, which we did. We sent the first wave of emails to the operators that we found contact information. So far, 4 of them responded. 3 of them responded, and also we got a reference from the Arizona Rock Products Association, and they provided great feedback. Also, I received back from BLT through their representative, Barry Olson, and with great information on the first letter with comments. There's a subsequent, I think he can speak to that. There's a subsequent comments are going to come from him. So we're going to incorporate this, and the discussion with them, the operators, is open. And also, we will come back to the Planning and Zoning Commission with the draft. And if it needs more work, we continue working on it until it's ready to go to the board.
My point is there's several more processes in this where we're going to make sure we get all the comments from the public, and we have the ability to mold it to fit what we believe it should be. We're just initiating the process at this point.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Bryan, that is correct.
That's all, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Any other commissioners have any questions of staff? If not, I'll open up to the public for comments, either for or against. Mr. Rose.
Mr. Chairman, just a quick comment. Maggie Castro, Planning and Zoning Director. So what you initiate today is what will move forward for the proposed text amendment.
Okay.
We will publish a notice in the newspaper to notify stakeholders of this case, but what is in your packet today is what is going to move forward.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Good evening, Barry Olson, 350 West 16th Street, Suite 407. I'm here on behalf of the BLT companies, and those of you that are familiar with Yuma obviously know what BLT does, which includes aggregate sources, as does one of your commission members, Mr. Allen. So when this first came out, BLT and I actually on the same day noticed that there was an article in the newspaper and started to look into it. And as I understand it, the genesis of this has to do with apparent change to an Arizona statute that I identified in a letter to county staff, where there's, and I highlighted the language, but basically what the county's to do is to adopt policies to preserve currently identified aggregates sufficient for future development and policies to avoid incompatible land uses. So we're for that. But it seems like this process needs to be explored a little bit. There was a draft that we received when the first packet went out, and what concerned us is there was buffer zones that were proposed. And the way that I understand the statute is that the policy is to protect future and existing aggregate sources. So if there's, buffers always concern developers. So the question gets to be is, okay, the way I read the statute is if there are any buffers or areas of protection, they need to protect the aggregate source, but they cannot be a requirement on the aggregate source or the aggregate source operator. And that was what popped out at us because it wasn't clear as to, okay, how would those buffer zones work? And would it be a one-size-fits-all or on a case-by-case basis? So, and the other concern that we raised is, okay, as part of this, we've identified existing operations, but those of you familiar with aggregate sources in Yuma County know that there are other areas that are potential for aggregate mining. In particular, if you have, our mountains or hills that have decomposed granite, alluvial formations and so forth. We have a lot of state and federal land that might be put to use in the future that we want to make certain could be addressed. We don't know what all of those are. There's geologic studies and so forth, but I think this needs to be looked into. And the other thing that's not really addressed or probably needs to be looked into is recycled asphalt and recycled concrete's becoming more and more of a common deal. But our concern is it's not really specifically addressed. So as part of this process, it would be a good idea to expand that aggregate operations would include the right for those recycled asphalt, recycled concrete operations, because it only makes sense that those are all, they're basically parallel, but we address aggregates. And I realize the statute just talks about aggregates, but it doesn't define recycled asphalt and recycled concrete. So there's a lot to this. Our biggest concern is just to make certain that the intent of the statute to protect and preserve aggregate sources is taken into account so that we don't end up with something that has an inadvertent restriction on our aggregate sources in Yuma County.
Maggie, as far as, Mr. Olson's got a great point. Who is going to determine what is protected and what is not, and what future possible sources are, how are they going to determine that?
Mr. Chairman, the amendment that is before you today is the amendment to the comprehensive plan, which was required by state law. Any regulatory changes to address aggregate sources will have to move forward through an amendment to the Yuma County zoning ordinance. So if this is approved, then we are going to draft, staff is going to draft language, and we have already received direction from board members about the desire to address aggregate sources in the zoning ordinance. And that would address specific standards and regulations for aggregate sources.
Mr. Chairman, can I follow up with Maggie? Maggie, the point that Mr. Olson made about buffer zones should, since the goal is to protect aggregate sources and not the land around it, how do we keep that from becoming inverted as the fear is that it would be the problem of the aggregate folks to protect the land next door instead of the land next door protecting the aggregate?
Mr. Chairman, again, that will be something that needs to be addressed through an amendment to the zoning ordinance.
So that would have nothing to do with this comprehensive plan? It has to be done through a zoning ordinance?
Yes. Even though the proposed language that is before you today does touch on, I think, buffering, the actual standards that can be enforced will have to be included in the zoning ordinance.
Okay, so, excuse me. If we initiate this tonight, what is the best advice we can provide to Mr. Olson? Because in essence, he's gonna have to do something from here, and
Again, the amendment to the zoning ordinance has to be drafted and move forward. Just like this process, we presented a discussion item before the Planning and Zoning Commission. The board also saw the discussion item. As far as the amendment to the zoning ordinance is concerned, we will also have to have discussions with the board to see what they're comfortable with as far as the language that will have to be included in the zoning ordinance. We will have some public hearings. The item will be advertised in the newspaper, and then will be sent out to stakeholders. Mr. Olson, I believe, may be already on our stakeholder list. So he would receive notices of the public hearings that are going to take place.
okay, thank you. So, Mr. Olson, it appears we're quite a ways away from that.
Yeah, and I recognize that, and this isn't one of those instances where, I mean, I guess I'll start off with this. Basically, I understand that per state law, the plan, Yuma County's comprehensive plan needs to address aggregate sources, which I think just needs to, the buffer zones are what concerned us. The rest of the language was more like what you typically see in a long-term plan. We're gonna address this. It's more, you know, sort of a high-altitude expression of policy. But if we get into these buffers, I don't think, as for where we're at now with the plan amendment process, that we should be into talking buffers. I think that gets to the next step, is if we're gonna take the plan and then start amending the zoning ordinance, which we would obviously be much more vigilant on as to any proposed buffers that would be proposed, because they, you know, again, the whole premise of this statute is to protect and preserve aggregate resources. And I, you know, being somewhat involved with several of the operators, I think this industry has done a really good job of identifying areas to develop that are compatible, and we don't have areas that are, if we're encroached upon, it's, you know, not due to our fault. We've tried to basically distance these things where, okay, for the foreseeable future, these shouldn't be encroached upon. But if we get to that point, then I believe that per the statute, those aggregate sources should be protected by the county.
Mr. Chairman, Maggie, are you in agreement with Mr. Olson's interpretation that any buffer zones should be there to protect the aggregate supply and not the property next door?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Bryant, yes, I do agree with that. What you see on the slide that is currently being displayed is directly from state law. Those buffer zones and requirements came directly from the legislation that was approved by with the Senate bill. I don't have the Senate bill number in front of me.
Well,
Mr. Chairman, I would like to add, this, the comprehensive plan is just a guide, and pretty much that's what it is. It's just a guide to how the development should go. And the only way to address it will be, yeah, with the zoning ordinance, and an amendment to the zoning ordinance to enforce. If those buffers are like just a suggestion.
Mr. Chairman, I guess if the commission is uncomfortable with including the 4 bullet points as part of the amendment, we could remove those. And then once we get to the amendment to the zoning ordinance is concerned, then we can insert specific buffers for the different surrounding land uses.
Would that satisfy your concern?
well, one of the comments that was made, again, I don't want to hash all the details, but I specifically pulled up the statute that was cited in the county's materials. I didn't find the buffers. I don't know where they came from. They may be in another statute, but they weren't in the statute that addressed why we're here tonight on the plan amendment to protect and preserve aggregate resources.
But if we remove that language from this amendment to the plan, then we've got the time when we do the zoning ordinance to make sure the buffer zones are properly understood. Would that address your concern?
No, I would like that whole first part in bold. I don't believe it's required to pass the land use amendment.
And that's what Maggie just suggested, we could leave that out.
She mentioned 4 bullet points. I didn't know.
There's buffer zones.
0 to 500, 500 to 1,000, 1,000 to 2,000, 2,000. Remove the distance.
Well, the first sentence above that I'd like out too is basically you must support the use of land use buffers until we get clarification. I'm uncomfortable with any buffer language.
We're okay with that. So we can remove that whole entire bold, the whole entire top, right? Yeah, we're okay with that, Barry.
Okay. And we have no problem working with staff. We obviously have a vested interest in this.
Right, and
Understood.
Mr. Chairman, just in the identifying of the aggregate sources, is there any consideration of land ownership?
No.
Since only 7% of Yuma's private land, so a lot of the aggregate sources are on federal or unavailable lands.
I believe it's only.
How do you?
It's only sources that are available to people that are gonna be able to use it. State land is protected, federal land is
Okay,
protected.
but, you know, that doesn't, there's no,
they-
no reference, you know,
They
as
can't,
to land
lease,
ownership.
right, it can be leased, right,
Means that you
yeah.
can get
You can't just go out there and homestead it and use it,
Okay.
you know what I mean? It has to be legally leased or owned or, yeah.
But Ms. McDermott raises a good point, is that I think that's where further study needs to be made, looking at whatever the geologic resources are, and say, okay, is there any other areas out there? Because there are some aggregate sources in Yuma County that are federal and state that are leased.
Right.
And so those need to be, and I think staff's done a good job. We just wanted to make certain that, okay, we're not limited because we're now getting into, you know, and where existing aggregate sources are starting to get to be, all right, we need to look at the future other sources. And again, I think that aggregate businesses in Yuma have done a good job of identifying those so that we have that source, because it obviously is what we need for development.
And that'll be added during the next phase, right?
Correct.
Yeah, yeah. So we're gonna remove that top portion, probably get this initiated, but then everything else will come in the next phase.
Yeah, we just, as long as we're kept posted and are able to, and we'll certainly be willing to work with staff and the commission and the board to get something approved that works for everybody.
Can I follow up just one more time, Mr. Chairman, and make sure I understand? Staff has identified all of the existing operations that are providing aggregate at this point, but you're wanting to make sure that doesn't limit the new sources that might be there that haven't been identified. So do you believe there are sources that should be identified that hasn't been?
Well, I think there's a variety of, you know, if you look at the lands where aggregate sources are now mined, there are other similar lands, but they're state and federal. And so the question is, okay, do we identify some of those areas that haven't been developed, or maybe where there's access, where there is no, under the existing plan, future, what I would call dense residential development? So that way, if we start getting to a point where, okay, we're getting more and more residential development, that we at least have some areas of state and federal where we preserve a corridor that could be used for aggregate mining, because if we had that, then it would allow some of my, you know, the folks that I represent to go to the state and federal saying, okay, Yuma County sort of had the foresight to look into this, and we'd like to lease this property for future aggregate mining because it's been protected by the county.
So is this something that the current local providers could assist staff with identifying? Do they know where those corridors are? Is there that kind of research?
Right, I think if the county had the geologic sources, I don't think that anybody in the local aggregate business would have any concerns with, okay, maybe we look at these areas as well. I mean, there may be some great aggregate sources, but they're close to residential development or what's being planned, where it's like, all right, we can see what's gonna happen there, so why get too far into that if you know you're gonna be encroached upon? Because that is something that if you're locating one of these, you're looking at, okay, how dense is the development around us? What are we gonna have to deal with?
Yeah.
But, I mean, to kind of give you an example, I mean, we've got an aggregate operation dap smack in the middle of town that has gotten a lot of interest over the years.
Yes.
I think this is to prevent that.
Mr. Chairman?
Thank you.
So Arizona Revised Statutes 11804B1E requires including currently identified sources of aggregate in the land use element. And I believe that Javier prepared a map. There's a map that goes along with this amendment to the comprehensive plan.
Right.
At this, and that map shows the currently identified sources of aggregate. So if this is approved by the commission, once it moves forward, if it's approved by, ultimately approved by the board, any new sources of aggregate or locations can be added through an amendment to the comprehensive plan and the map.
Get your boots on, Barry.
And
So
how
what's on the map now are the currently,
identified?
yes, correct.
And how would those new places be identified for the amendment to be processed? Who identifies those? Is that an aggregate supplier or a?
We would have to be informed of any new operation that, any new site that comes into operation for an aggregate source.
And then we could initiate an amendment to the comprehensive plan to include that site.
Correct.
That map includes a lot.
Yeah, and those can be done not all the time, right? I mean, can you do an amendment to the plan anytime you want to, or is there?
This is considered a minor amendment to the comprehensive plan, so yes, they can be processed.
Processed anytime we wanted to? Okay,
All right. Any other questions?
I'm done.
All right, thank you.
Good, Barry?
Yes, appreciate you listening.
Problem. Anybody else have anything for or against this initiation? If not, I'll bring it back to the commission board for discussion and action. Aaron?
Mr. Chairman, I think that Mr. Olson brought up a very solid point that we need to also protect the reclamation of former concrete and asphalt. So as part of the glossary entry, perhaps we have naturally occurring and then also reclaimed aggregate sources added to it.
But that'll also be added in the next phase too, right, Maggie?
Mr. Chairman, any changes to what is before you today, we have to start the process over again. We would have to bring this item back to change the language that is currently proposed. So if that's the desire, then this item needs to be continued so we can add that language.
Well, no, wait, we're talking about deleting language. Is it okay to delete but not add? Is that what you're telling us?
What's being proposed to be deleted is very clear as to what we're deleting. Right now, we would have to develop a definition of what Commissioner Salnyi is referring to. We don't have that language to present to you at this point.
But that can be added during the next phase.
That too, yes.
Right, so that can be added in the next phase.
So we can't change today, but we can change at the next meeting?
The next phase.
What's the next phase? Explain the phase to me.
Mr. Chairman, again, we can bring this same item back with additional language. Because we don't have the specific language that Commissioner Salnyi is referring to, that makes no sense to add that vague language. It has to be clear as to what the amendment, how the amendment is going to move forward.
Understand, but would we be better to just postpone approval of this or initiating this until that gets accomplished? Or what is the phase that you would be able to add the additional language?
Mr. Chairman, we can move forward with this amendment and then, or with this change to the comprehensive plan. And if Mr. Salnyi would like specific language added to the comprehensive plan, we can either do that through a future amendment, or we can add it here, but then we have to continue the same case.
Right. It would be a minor amendment, in other words. That's
Yeah, just do another, yeah.
right. Where you're deleting, she said we could delete, but delete is easier, and then the other one would be through a minor amendment. That's what you're saying, right? Pretty much. Yeah.
Is there any kind of pressure time-wise that says we need to try to move this forward? Would continuing it and editing it be a problem for staff?
Mr. Chairman, no, that is not a problem with staff. However, we're also in the process of initiating an amendment to the zoning ordinance to address aggregate sources, so that may hold up that process.
Mr. Chairman, so can we continue it for the next public hearing?
Hold on one second. Let's see what Mr. Olson has to say.
Mr. Bryant, you remember you and I were on a committee where we addressed an amendment several years ago, we went back and forth, but I thought we did a good job of getting that right, and I think that's what needs to happen here. I'm not in favor of piecemealing this. I think the best approach is send it back, get the aggregate community's input, and come forward with something that the aggregate community supports right now on behalf of BLT. And I suspect there's another aggregate entity that would have some of the same concerns that I'm familiar with, is to come up with something that the aggregate community supports versus has concerns with.
Mr. Chairman, the case planner for this case did reach out to the aggregate community, and I believe that the comments from the community are on file, and they were in favor of the changes that are being presented to you today.
Yes, I'm sure that that's the case, but I suspect that if we talked about recycled aggregates with them, they would agree, because I think everybody's in the recycle business that's in the aggregate business, so they would agree that that would need to be protected. And Mr. Chairman, if we're ready to move forward, I would like to move that we continue this, try to get the language right before we go down the path.
And before you call for a second, just to get an answer to Mr. Bryan's question, is there a time frame by state statute that we need to get this approved? Okay, so that answers that question, and, okay, I'll second that.
Okay. There's been a motion to continue this until when?
Mr. Chairman, at this point, it would be continued indefinitely until staff can get the additional information that was mentioned at this meeting. And then once we're ready to present something, we can place it back on the agenda.
Okay, thank you. So the motion is to continue it indefinitely. There's been a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion passes. Next item on the agenda is to request, initiate a text amendment to the Yuma County zoning ordinance revising section 202. Staff, please.
Richard Munguia, Senior Planner. This is a request to initiate amendments to 3 sections, definitions, setback exceptions, and accessory building / RV storage setbacks. The purpose is to determine direction from the commission and whether we should move forward with a text amendment. So this proposal would create a defined structure type, which is a residential vehicle shade structure, and that would allow a special side yard setback exception. The current ordinance already allows patio covers, awnings, carports, platforms, and other things like that to be 3 feet from the lot line. It also requires accessory buildings and stored RVs to stay at least 3 feet from any side or rear setback. Staff did review several other jurisdictions. The comparison does show that reduced side yard setbacks for similar structure types, but there are no 0-foot setbacks in any other jurisdictions. Most of them have 3 feet or more. City of Yuma, Phoenix, both have 3 feet. Chandler has 5. Maricopa has 3. Pima County is 4. And the city of San Luis does have 1 foot. But building safety did some follow-up and noted that it does not allow 0 lot line. And carports do have to maintain a minimum 3-foot side yard setback. The proposed changes are going to be shown below. Text that's deleted is strike through, and to be added is in bold. This is a definition for the residential vehicle shade structure. It does allow for a fabric canopy or aluminum / steel roof covering. Allows up to a 2-foot overhang, and no portion may extend beyond the property line. It also requires the structure to be open on all sides, except if it's attached to the side of a house. The open side limitation is important because building safety did note that typically a 0-foot lot line would not comply with IRC and would most likely require an alternative fire rated design. And here we're adding residential vehicle shade structure. It already allows for the 3-foot side yard setback for other structures, and this would just identify that it could be at 0. Staff does have a concern that this would create a new countywide 0-foot setback for the vehicle shade structures, while other existing structures similar to that would maintain a 3-foot setback. And then this is for section 1106.02. Under the current ordinance, accessory buildings can be built and recreational vehicles may be stored in the rear side yard, but they cannot occupy more than 30% of the rear yard and cannot be nearer than 3 feet to any side or rear setback line. So this would create an exception only for the shade structure and not the RV itself, or for the RV. The stored RVs would still have to maintain a 3-foot setback. The proposed change would allow the structure covering the RV to move all the way to 0 feet, even though the RV itself would remain subject to the 3-foot setback. Building safety did review this proposal and identified life safety concerns with a 0-foot setback. The first concern is fire separation. Placing the structure at the property line reduces the fire separation distance to 0 and increases potential exposure to the adjacent property. The second concern is vehicle use. These structures would be intended for passenger vehicles and RVs, which can include fuel systems, electrical components, batteries, propane, and other fuel sources. And the third concern is structural. Yuma County is wind exposure C and seismic design category D. So freestanding shade structures may need substantial footings at a 0-foot lot line setback. They could affect adjacent improvements like fence footings. For those reasons, building safety does recommend retaining the 3-foot side yard setback as is. Building safety did provide additional comments. The RSC does not establish zoning setbacks, but it does regulate fire resistance requirements near property lines. Under the RSC table referenced here, Chapter 3, Section R302, projections less than 2 feet from the property line are not permitted under the prescriptive provisions. A typical patio cover or carport at 0-foot setback would require an alternative code-compliant design, generally involving a 1-hour fire-rated resistance wall, which could increase cost and complexity. This is a site plan showing a 3-foot separation. This is engineering. This is just one that had been, I believe, had been approved roughly last year. This is a photo that illustrates the condition that staff is concerned about. It's a large RV in a shade structure located very close to the house, the wall, and property line area. This could also affect fire separation, drainage, maintenance access, and impacts to neighboring property. This shows how these structures can be located behind fences in the backyard and still be located adjacent to walls and neighboring properties. With a 3-foot separation, there's still some access for construction, maintenance, roof runoff. At 0 feet, those issues become likely to fall on the neighbor or become enforcement complaints. This is another photo of it. And here's another shade structure. Staff is recommending not initiating a text amendment to the Yuma County zoning ordinance. And that concludes my report.
So who recommended a 0-foot setback?
Staff was directed to create this and provide it to you, to everyone.
Someone from up above.
And Mr. Chairman, we did receive direction to draft language for a possible amendment to the zoning ordinance. Staff is not in favor of the amendment. It is up to the board, to the commission to initiate the amendment or not.
I'm not in favor of it either.
You could initiate it and then at the next public hearing, recommend denial, but it's up to you how you decide to handle this.
Mr. Chairman?
We've decided, yes, let me, if I could, Mr. Chairman, just follow up with or maybe even whoever knows. We talked about this already. opinions in. We sent it up to the Board of Supervisors. What was the discussion at the Board of Supervisors as their level of interest in pursuing this?
The board wanted to move forward. The initial discussion was just the discussion portion, how this should be crafted, and they were okay with what was presented.
So they wanted to move forward.
Correct.
Mr. Chairman,
Hugo.
okay, what's gonna happen to all the shades that are already up there? What's gonna happen to all the shades that are already built?
That's not our problem.
Like this one right here, in other words, it'll be non-conforming.
Not our problem.
Well, another person can build one and say, well, my neighbor has one. Why don't you knock my neighbor's,
Will they be grandfathered in, Maggie, or they have to take them down?
Mr. Chairman, we have several open violation cases for this same issue. And some of them are on hold pending the amendment to.
Because they're in
zoning ordinance.
violation right now.
Correct.
We have violations
Right.
open.
Yes.
They're already in violation.
But we gotta remember,
Well,
Mr. Chairman, we're not the zoning
Not the
police.
that's
We,
right.
okay, so let's try to figure out a way to help our constituents.
What'll happen
And let
if-
the zoning police do their policing.
What'll happen if we don't initiate it is they'll still be in violation.
Right.
Correct.
And it is a little bit our problem in the sense that the people who appoint us ask us to take a look at trying to fix the problem for their constituents. And
Yeah, but we
if
also
we,
have to
if we,
think,
if we want to be appointed, we need to at least consider what they ask us to do.
But we also gotta consider the life, health, and safety as well.
If you guys want the opinion of someone that went through this in San Luis twice and had a room full of city voters and we had to have police and everything. I mean, you guys have been through one of those meetings when we had the, yeah, okay. There's no winning to this situation. No one's gonna win here. What we did in the city of San Luis, as you mentioned, we did provide an engineer schematic that the city paid for, I think, 3 different options for people to have an option to do it legally where the fire department felt comfortable, police felt comfortable. At the end of the day, it comes down to making sure they're removable in case there's a fire, the type of material needs to be fire rated. If you ask me how many people in San Luis actually have used that to build them after the fact, that would be a question to staff at City of San Luis. I don't know if they gave you that answer or not. We provided the options, grandfathered in the people that had it, because that's what the community and the leaders were asked to do at that time. But that will not fix the problem from here, and you're gonna hear the concept that we live in the desert, people have their toys, people wanna have them protected. It's a no-win situation.
I mean, I'm
They're
a
complaint-driven.
commissioner in San Luis, Arizona, and this is a big problem. Because, I mean, someone already has one, it's grandfathering, the neighbor, they built one, and they're like, hey, if you wanna knock mine down, you knock the neighbors, if you wanna take me to court, take us both to court. So it's,
Now, what we did add in the city of San Luis is every owner that had one that had grandfathered in had to sign a document and it got placed under title. If they ever sold the house, it had to be removed in order for it to be sold.
that's true.
I've seen that happen as a realtor. Some houses I've sold have had it and the owners have taken it down before they sell the house. So that was the compromise that they made to try to.
I don't think there'll be grandfathered in, but I understand where Vice Chairman Bryant's coming from, but you also have to look at a life, health, and safety too. You cannot, if that side's on, there's a gas meter right there. That thing lights on fire, how are you gonna get to it to put it out?
No, I get you. That's what I'm saying. The engineering was provided to make it removable, and there's obviously items like that would be, but you're gonna get a room for people here if something.
Mr. Chairman, the RV's gonna park there anyway.
Matter what.
We're trying to provide constituents and people who are trying to fit some modicum of protection when it's 120 degrees
Oh, no,
outside.
I agree, I have one of those, but I have 3 foot off my house. And that gives somebody room to get back there to the fire department if they needed to.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, the picture currently on the screen,
That's a violation.
both are violations. The RV
Yep.
in close proximity to the property line there and the shade structure.
But again, the only reason you guys do something is someone complained about it. We don't have staff
Or
going around.
complaint-driven.
Complaint-driven,
Yes.
right.
And even if this amendment is approved, that is not going to solve the issue that you have going on with
Right.
this RV and shade structure. That RV still cannot be 3 feet, or I mean, 1 foot from the property line.
No, he has room to move it over at least.
Mr. Chairman, if staff can answer the number of complaints that were received in the last few months that started this problem, Maggie, do you have any idea how many complaints staff had to respond to at all?
Mr. Chairman, I don't have specific numbers, no. We do have several cases, multiple cases for property, for shade structures encroaching into the side yard setback.
And in reality, even if we move forward with this as written, it wouldn't solve all of those issues. I mean, some of those issues that wouldn't be solvable by this because the RVs are still going to be too close to the property line. We would have to amend that as well.
One at a time.
Because if I understood you correctly, even if this were law today, or this were in the zoning ordinance today, the RV would still have to be 3 foot off the property line, even though the shade cover was a 0 lot clearance.
That's correct.
So,
He would have 3 feet. He move it over, he'll have 3 feet.
Mr. Chairman, in addition to the RV not being allowed to be, in this case, I'm referring to the picture that you have. In addition to that, they would have to meet building safety requirements, engineering requirements to make sure that the structure meets international fire code requirements.
The shade structure, right?
Yes.
The construction of the shade structure, yes.
Engineered and hurricanes.
and that basically would require a firewall on that exterior fence, I guess. Is that correct?
Mr. Chairman, I'll defer that to the chief building official. He's here.
We were hoping to hear from him.
Ty?
He was trying to hide back there, he's like, nah.
Being awful quiet. Yes, he is now.
Ty Martinez, Chief Building and Fire Code Official. Yeah, there's a fire separation rule that's required, and we're not gonna get it with these structures. It's not allowed by code. It's anything less than 2 foot is not allowed to have an opening. In order for the applicant to achieve compliance, they would have to build a firewall between each post of the structure to the next post. It would have to be a 1 hour fire rated wall because you cannot have an opening or a window in a fire separation wall. So in that situation there, they would have to provide that fire protection, which would be a substantial amount of money.
And, I mean, basically, they could build an 8-inch block wall where their fence is. They could engineer a 12-foot tall block wall where their fence is, and they might be able to meet it.
Or construct a wall that has drywall and fire rated
Or
drywall on one
do
side and
2 layers of
stucco on the
drywall.
other side.
Right.
So it's gonna be a cost for the applicant, so we're kind of leading them to a dead end. I think they're thinking if they can get a 0 lot line, then their problems are solved, but there's other issues that we're gonna have, and I think like Commissioner Rosales was saying, it's basically a no-win for them because you do need to get a permit. We still have to observe the adopted codes. And one thing to consider as well is that these RVs have the same combustibles as a house. So we only see these situations like at Martinez Lake, where we have 0 lot line allowance, but those houses are all fire sprinklered with the 1 hour rated wall. And basically we have to give the same right to the next property owner to build out a 0 lot line as well. And our next step is fire sprinklers and 1 hour rating. So at this point here, it's my recommendation that we keep it at 3 foot to protect the fire separation rule.
And that's because of the National Fire Code.
That is the adopted code of the 2024 International Residential Code, which has a fire separation requirement, Chapter 3.
Right, and we have adopted that code.
Yes, sir. That was actually in the 18 code as well.
Okay, and we have no other choice once we've adopted that code. Is that correct? I mean, we couldn't amend it if we wanted to. We couldn't amend the National Fire Code.
It's already been amended to be reduced from 5 foot to 3 foot, which matches our current zoning ordinance, so it fits perfectly with our zoning ordinance right now.
If I recall correctly, the fire code is a guide also for the communities. I'm not talking about planning and zoning, but each community picks and adopts what they want from the fire code. fit to their needs. I
So,
mean,
yeah, to be clear, this is not a fire code issue, this is a building code
Yeah,
issue.
building
It's
code.
from the fire separation requirement for buildings,
But
structures.
since somebody above us wants to initiate it,
well, that's
are we,
regardless.
are we allowed to initiate something that's gonna be violated?
No.
That's what I'm saying, that's why.
Mr. Chairman? Like I said, you could initiate the amendment, and then move it through the process. It'll have to come back as the actual, text amendment to the zoning ordinance. And then, once the commission makes a recommendation on that, then it'll move to the board of supervisors.
Yeah, we could recommend denial, send it up to the board, and they could approve it if they wanted to.
Right, okay.
They're gonna have the full house there.
So on this one, if you'd like to initiate it, just so that you have a chance to make a recommendation on the actual text amendment, that would work as well.
Got a question, when sure. Go ahead. Could you back up the 2 slides? And this is just, that one, any of those is fine.
Am I good?
Curiosity. Yeah, the question's for you. No, come back. Yeah, the question's for you. And this is just curiosity. Trust me, I get this, we've been through this, and it's not legal because, fire code and all that. But nowadays, you go to Sam's Club and you buy those gazebos, they're 10 by 20, and you build one. Is that because those are removable and some?
That's a good question. So the city of Yuma has already addressed that. So anything that's 200 square feet or less by code, 200 square feet or less and detached and not used as a carport can be considered an exempt structure.
So a shade structure, if someone wanted to put a 10 by 20 to put their motorcycles under, I mean, you could spit them all, small Honda, Toyotas under there, but.
Technically, they're not supposed to put motorcycles under there, but like you said, we're not policing it. We can
Yeah.
approve it as a shade structure only, not permitted for parking.
Lawn chairs.
Lawn chairs, it's designed for like gazebos. People want to sit outside and have, when the weather is cooler, to sit down and have dinner.
But where I'm going with the question is that earlier we mentioned, the type of windstorms that we sometimes get here, those 10 by 20 gazebos, to me, are more dangerous than something that can be attached and easily detached, like with a pin, like you do to your tow bar or something, versus something that could fly away with a little monsoon and land on someone's kid back door. I mean, it's just, is there no gray between design?
200 square feet or less, so they wouldn't require plans, it wouldn't require an inspection from the building department, but it would have to follow the provisions of the code, 200 square feet or less, and not used for parking.
But if they
Whereas-
do something like this one, they have to honor the setbacks.
Correct.
If
That
I
would-
buy
and
it
that-
at
that
Sam's
wouldn't
Club,
be-
the setbacks don't apply.
And
no
there's
more.
also a height restriction, it can't be higher than 9 foot.
Okay, that's the difference. So this is right here like 14 feet to begin
Correct.
with, or whatever it is. Okay, gotcha.
So, Chairman, Ty, so you can buy a gazebo and you can have 0 setbacks in your backyard. If you buy, and if it's less than 200 square feet, and it's not taller than 8 feet.
Based
Tonight.
on the building code, yes, zoning ordinance, no, but building code, yes.
9 foot, 9 foot,
Still
9
got a
foot.
zoning
It
code,
still has to meet the zoning requirements.
still got setbacks.
Right.
But not a gazebo from Sam's Club. You said I could put that against the wall. A Sam's Club gazebo that's under 200 square feet, I could lean that against the wall.
They would still, if it's 200 square feet or less, it still would require an exempt permit, which would still go through the process of zoning to approve the setbacks.
Okay, to approve it. Okay, you still have to request approval. Gotcha,
Correct.
gotcha.
Right, Mr. Chairman, what he's trying to say is, those structures still have to comply with zoning ordinance requirements, which require a setback of 3 feet from the side and rear.
Which Sam's Club
They
doesn't
won't
tell the
need it.
buyer that.
They won't need a building permit, other than an exempt permit, but they still have to comply with setback requirements.
Gotcha. Okay, that is the missing part that we had.
All right, let's go.
All right.
Let me make a motion.
Can I
So-
make a motion not to move this forward?
Let me ask staff one more question. Both of the staff members that are experts here. Is this as good as we could get? I mean, there's nothing else we could do to make this more acceptable to staff. This is as good as it's gonna get. So, I mean, we don't need to send it back and try to tweak it. Is there any tweaks that we could do that would make it
Workable.
more workable?
The best I could do in the building code would be 2 feet. The best I could do in the building code would be 2 feet. That's for the code allows, that's allowable, 2 feet or more, but it can be less than 2 feet, as far as the building code goes.
Right.
For the zoning code, I mean, it's suggested to you at 0, so I don't know how much.
Mr. Chairman, you can make that as part of your recommendation or motion, you can recommend that the language be changed to, instead of 0 feet, have a 2-foot setback.
2 foot, right, and that's what I was gonna say.
Might help someone, not, no.
Can't violate law, remember that.
At least we're doing something.
Doesn't look like anybody's quick to jump on this one.
I'm not going through this. I've been through this before. I'm not.
What do you think, Hugo?
Okay, you do I mean, you're having a hard time right now with 3 feet. So you go 2 foot, they're gonna go against the wall. They're gonna say, hey, the wall is not on the property line or something. They're gonna.
Question, is that 2 foot on the property line setback and also the building structure? Like in this picture, it would have to be 2 feet on each side?
It would have to be for fire separation is the wall that's adjacent to the property line, so that one would have to be 2 feet away.
Okay, and then what about the side that's touching the house almost where the overhang is going?
If it's permitted, it could be right up next to it.
Oh, okay. I thought it was 2 feet.
With engineering, because I got some blueprints from Naja, and he says, hey, engineering, you can go a foot from the side setback and you can attach it to the property. But I don't know if that changed.
If he's putting his stamp on it, that's his engineering stamp.
Yeah, if it's a building permit, you can go right up next to the house. Granted, it meets the other requirements of the other divisions.
I've been through this, so to kill this right now.
Come on, Aaron, you're new, you can step up.
I'm in. Mr. Chairman, I recommend, first of all, I want to thank staff for all their work on this. It looks like it's been a lot. So, first with that. Second, I would like to say that I would like to recommend that we approve this as written with staff and send it back to the Board of Supervisors for their guidance, whether we keep going or we stop at that point.
Second.
So wait, so the staff's recommendation to deny?
No.
Mr.
I
Chairman.
recommend we approve
We
the
recommend
language
approval to
as
the
written.
It's denied.
You
Mr.
recommend
Chairman?
You recommend to initiate this, you mean?
Yes.
Even though staff says they recommend not to?
Well, staff's.
Go to the last slide.
Staff's recommended denial,
Okay,
but
I'm recommending we
he's
initiate.
Okay, gotcha.
recommending
Okay.
approval to the Board of Supervisors.
okay, because I thought I heard him say as presented.
There's
I'm
been
like,
a
well,
recommendation to initiate, and there's been a second. All in favor to signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Nay.
Roll call vote.
Please.
Aye.
No.
Aye.
Can you skip me?
Don't change it now, I heard you.
I didn't say nothing earlier. I was wondering if the trash can is gonna be picked up because the trash is overflowing. If that's in San Luis, that trash can is not being picked up. What were we?
Say aye, you're good.
You said aye? Okay. I'll go with my new neighbor next door, aye.
Aaron Saini,
Aye.
Hugo Garcia,
Aye.
Bobby McDermott, Ron Van Wy.
Nay, and so did Matias the first time.
Motion passes.
Yeah, I like people.
Next item on the agenda is discussion of commission members, planning and director events, anything attended, current events, any scheduled for future commission. I know that Maggie had sent something out today for upcoming trainings that are throughout, all the way through December. I don't think everybody got that.
Yes. Call centers.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I sent out an email concerning some educational sessions or learning sessions for energy infrastructure and data centers. They're being hosted by the Local First organization, and they will be held September 10th through December 17th. There are 2-hour sessions on Thursdays from 10 p.m. to 10 a.m. Sorry, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. So if you're interested in participating in those, I sent the registration link to your email address. You're welcome to participate.
Thank you. Aaron, did you get it?
I will say I was a bit confused. I was looking for data center class, and then I figured out it's energy.
Danny, you can
Okay,
forward that to
yeah.
Aaron, can't you?
Well, it's
Right?
both.
Okay.
Energy, infrastructure, and data centers.
It didn't say that when you selected, it
All
didn't say
right, let's
data
go.
center on there. That's
Call
all.
to the public. Anybody out there have anything to say for the good of the order? Going once, going twice. Oh, that's right, Aaron's up here now.
I was waiting for him to say that.
If not, I will call this meeting adjourned.